There is a very simple and easy way in the software to set up classifications of items, and now I'm going to show you how to do that. Now I will focus on the walls of this level here, on the external walls. As you can see, this is the one on the ground floor. It's easily visible in the 3D and in the 2D. And now I'm going to go to select the classification field here. I will edit the classification. And by default, it will have no classification. I mean, it's just the generic BIM classification that it will have. But you can go to the libraries here and you can say that you would like to add a new classification from a database, or you can also create a new one. Now let's just start with this one. I would like to go with the database. So I go to select any of those classifications. Those are the built-in classifications that are readily available in the software, either Omniclass, Uniclass, or Uniformat, whichever you prefer. You can just go with that and you can select those. In my case, I will use Uniclass 2015 and I will select something of the elements types, and I will go and say that this wall, for example, is indeed it's a superstructure. So this superstructure here is a classification that when I hit OK, I define this to be a classification for this specific wall. So now I have that here. Now there is an interesting thing in ARCHLine that is not always the case for all of the softwares. And in ARCHLine you have the ability to define not just one classification, but you can define multiple classifications for the same item. So for that, again, you can just go to the classification page and you can say that, okay, it's okay that it has this classification, but I would like to add another classification, again from the database, again from the Uniclass, but I can also go with another one. And in this case, this will be another type of classification, which is defining it to be fall into this specific node with the walls EF2510. And then when I hit OK, now it is classified as EF2010 and EF2510. So those are the all the available classifications. Should I want to define a custom made, I can at any time come here and I can create a new, so I can fill up any of those. So let's say the item reference is something, I don't know, it should be like, I don't know, let's just go with the previous example. It should be acoustic rating 2010 or so. The name should be, I don't know, acoustic rating 10 or 20. And I can define this, the source, the edition or the classification name, and so on. So when I hit OK, then I have this classification as well. So this is how you can define classifications out of the box and add them to an item. And then once you have this item classified with the specific classification, you can also copy those properties, because there is an option to copy the classifications to other items, which I won't do now, but you can easily do. Now I will just focus on this one single wall now, and I will show you another example, because there is another way to extend the available classifications to your local regulations, whatever your local authorities require. You can use those classifications as well. Those are things that are actually by default are some sort of files, I mean Excel files. Let me show you an example. I have a sample file here, which I'm opening in Excel. This is a simple Excel file that is having 2 pages, the introduction and the group, and now the group page contains the interesting information for me. This is a sample file from France, which I use today, and as you can see, it has pretty much a lot of these specific identification numbers, descriptions, values, and so on. So there's this code level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, definitions and so on. So as it was filled up, you can actually import it into the software with this specific tool that I will show you now. So let me just go back to ARCHLine and go to the file and options. Now in options you have this open and save page, and here you should scroll down until you can find this IFC classification, import database from Excel files. Now this is what I need. I go here and I will just open up a classification that I saved here in my library. This is the sample classification file that I'm going to pick up. And this is what I select, and I hit OK, open. So now the software opened this into and digested it and converted it into a classification table. So from this point on, I have the option to select that one that I have opened up, and I can go and select any of those classification types from this specific file. So it gives a lot of freedom overall and internationally. So whenever you would like to use other classification types that the software is shipped with in your country, you can do that. You only need to obtain this classification Excel file, and then you can import it and you can classify those files. Now, as a final touch, let me show you how it looks like when you export the IFC file out of this model. So now I have this full model, and I will only focus on this wall, but I will export the whole model. So I go to the file and export, and I'm going to export an IFC file. Now this will be something that I will save into this 2020 folder. Let me just create a new one. This will be IFC. Now I'm going to save this into this one and just say this is the name of the original project. Something like this, and this will be the IFC export or something like that. So let's just save it. And I'm going to go with the default settings. I don't change anything. I just hit OK, and I wait for the result to appear in an IFC file. Now, in case of a larger project, it might take a while, but in the end you will see an info window with the report. Whatever was exported will be listed up here, and then when I hit OK, and I can load up this in a viewer. I actually have this viewer on my computer. It's called this BIM Vision application. It's a free application. This is what I'm going to use today. And I'm going to go and open this IFC export file that I've just exported. So it loads up in the viewer, and what I'm interested in is that information that I use for the classification. So this is the whole area with all the rest of the buildings and all the walls and everything else. I'm just zooming in to this part of this building, zoom into that specific wall and select that specific wall. And this is actually wall 518 in my specific case, and then all I need to do is to go to the classification, and I will see all the two uniclass classification items that I classified it as a wall and the superstructure. And I also added my own custom acoustic rating classification tab, which appears here. So this is how you add and change the classifications of items, and this is how it is represented in a third-party software as an IFC content, as a BIM content.